Welcome to Fundraising Stories with Female Founders. I'm Julia Elliott-Brown, the founder and CEO of Enter the Arena. I'm a serial entrepreneur and an expert in raising investment and business growth. Our mission at Enter the Arena is to empower female founders to fly through pre-raise and investment and onto the exponential growth of their business with investment expertise and business coaching. Here we share the stories of inspirational female founders who've raised investment to inspire you to do the same. You'll hear their honest accounts of what it was really like to secure funding, the highs, the lows, and the challenges they experienced on the journey. And along the way, we'll discuss top tips for how you can be successful too. Today I'm speaking with Kim Palmer, the founder of Clementine. Now, Clementine is a hypnotherapy app created by women for women. It's all about helping us achieve some calm moments during the day, more important than ever, given how much uncertainty and anxiety we all face. Clementine launched in 2017 and now has a community of over 100,000 women. The app was voted by The Guardian as one of the 7 apps every woman should own. Prior to setting up her startup, Kim worked at Wunderman Thompson as a strategy director, helping some of the world's biggest brands with their global marketing campaigns. She's been listed as one of the top 100 women in femtech and health tech. And in 2018, she won the accolade of IPA Campaign Woman of Tomorrow, which recognizes female industry leaders of the future. Now, in 2020, Kim raised £1 million of investment to help her grow the business. So let's meet Kim and discover exactly how she did that, what the journey was like, and her top tips on how to approach the process. So hi, Kim, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely to
Always a bit weird to hear an intro to yourself.
I know, it's strange, isn't it? And for those of you who aren't watching the video, I have to tell you that Kim has an incredible background on her video. It's the most fun, colourful video interview I think I've ever done. So if you get the chance to check out the video on YouTube or on the Enter the Arena website, please do that. So Kim, tell us all about the Clementine app. How does it work? What does it enable women to do?
Okay, yeah, good question. Let's start with how it works. So basically, we help women who are feeling tired or stressed and overwhelmed, perhaps feeling, a little bit low and are lacking a bit of self-belief in themselves. And it could be that they're feeling all of those things, or it could just be that they're feeling one, and because it changes on a daily basis, doesn't it? And with all of that, often what happens is you have a lot of negative chatter in your head, thinking that you can't do things. And what we do is we work with those women to shift their mindsets. I suppose you could say we're a mindset company to help them believe and really feel that they can do whatever they want. And that could be as simple as getting a good night's sleep. Actually, that's not that simple, is it? I say that. Or it could be, perhaps thinking, I'm going to go to that meeting today and I'm going to speak in that meeting so that you've got a bit more confidence with your voice. And we do that, I suppose our secret sauce, if you want to call it that, is through hypnotherapy. We believe that hypnotherapy is the most accessible first step when you're going from feeling at a place of vulnerability, because it's just so easy to access and it's amazing for changing habits. So that's kind of how it works. And we do focus purely on women. We're an open community, an open app, accessible to everybody, but we are unashamedly designing with women in mind.
Okay, fascinating. So uniquely for women and focusing on hypnotherapy and all those, as you were sort of saying, all of those feelings about, how confidence and anxiety. I mean, I think we all feel that to some extent or another.
Yeah, definitely. And actually it's not, unfortunately, or depends how you look at it. Like I've leaned into all of this stuff. It's something that goes with you. It's a daily thing. It's a situational thing. Maybe you're going through something in your life. It's not just for a certain group of women. It's just it's life.
Exactly. Fantastic. So what kind of made you want to start all of this, Kim? I mean, given a very different background, working at Wunderman, kind of what made you think I'm going to build this kind of hypnotherapy app?
I know, because it does seem a bit strange when you look at my career history. Yeah, I mean, it all came from my own personal experience, really. That was the inspiration. I had a rather epic emotional breakdown about 7 years ago, which the very short story of that is I had my very first panic attack at work, which was so traumatic for me because I built up all of my sense of self-worth in being Kim Palmer. You know, she's got it together, she's super ambitious, she's superwoman. You know, I was trying to act and behave in a way that I didn't feel like I was actually that person, if that makes sense. I'm sure the thing is, my story is not actually that extraordinary. I know a lot of women feel like this, right?
Yeah.
So I spent a lot.
That's true. I mean, I think, you know, women especially, isn't it? Because we feel we have to be better than anything to be successful, whether you're working in the corporate or whether you're a founder.
Yeah, a mother.
Yeah, a mother, exactly.
Just everything. It's like I need to be the best at everything, and you know, I need to look like Heidi Klum in my bikini, and you know, all this ridiculous stuff. So it all caught up with me because I didn't look after my mental health. I didn't know what mental health was. I don't think anyone did. No one talked about it. So I had my first panic attack at work, and then I went on a very quick downward spiral, and my world went from being very big to very small because I just kept experiencing panic attacks on a daily basis. I lost my voice, I lost my confidence. It was pretty dark for a long time. And my way through that was through hypnotherapy. I did some other therapy, and everybody at the time, thinking back, you know, sort of 7 years ago, was saying, do mindfulness meditation. I remember buying the book and throwing it out, the first mindfulness book, because I was like, my brain can't do this. I'm not there. I'm so far away from being able to sit still, you know, shut my brain down, be conscious with my thoughts, which was just too scary. And I found hypnotherapy, and I can't tell you how a game changer it was, even just after one session. Of course, it didn't fix things overnight, but I felt it was almost like a poison was being removed from my body, even just after one session. And then I saw my therapist for a year, and she helped me to just be okay, like to get up out of bed, to go to work and not freak out all the time, you know, to sleep, all that stuff. And what was so cool about it was that she recorded these sessions that we were having together on my phone. And so I began using them in all manner of situations. Like I'd be at work and something horrible would happen, or someone would speak to me and I'd get upset and I'd hide in the loos and use it. Or on my way home, because I really struggled to let work go back then. And so I'd listen to it on my way home to sort of have an easier transition into the evening or the weekends. I was using it for sleep. I basically used it for everything. And it was when I was at Wonder Woman Thompson, and I created this initiative with the CEO at the time, which was about helping women to feel safe and okay at work, and to build tools that would help them manage their mental well-being and their confidence, that I started to talk about my feelings of not always feeling okay, but that was okay, and that it didn't need to define your whole life, and it's okay to have a bad day, you know, but you just need to look after yourself. And that's when a lot of light bulbs went off in my head, because every single woman came to speak to me and say, oh my gosh, I feel like this, and no one talks about it, and how do I help myself, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, this didn't happen overnight, but I was like, I really feel like I could do something to help these women. And classic strategist, I went into a mode of, I didn't overnight think of Clementine. I actually just more broadly was trying to think, what were the problems that I could solve in the world if I was to start a business? But I just kept getting pulled back to this idea of helping women with sleep and anxiety and stress, and doing it in a way that really worked in their day, and added no burden to them. because I kept getting annoyed that people kept saying, do this, and like, train yourself to do this for 20 minutes. And I was just like, I just don't have the capacity for this.
Yeah, because mindfulness is hard, isn't it, really? You have to really focus. I mean, for the uninitiated, myself included, what is the difference then with hypnotherapy?
Yeah, when I explain this, I try to keep it really non-technical. So with meditation, I describe it as more of a lean in, and mindfulness meditation. It's a lean in experience where you have to really participate and be conscious. That's an important word. So that you are deciding, I'm going to distance myself from this, I'm going to let go of this, all that stuff. So it's lean in, conscious. That sounds fine. But when your brain is very busy and you struggle to even like sit down, that act of leaning in, being conscious, can be very difficult. And that's what I found. In fact, what I found was that it made me feel worse because I was a perfectionist. And I was like, I can't do this. This is really hard. And so I just felt worse about myself. Now with hypnotherapy, the way we describe it is it's a lean back, and it's an unconscious experience. So actually that feels massively different in a world where you described it in the intro, where we're all like super stressed, super busy, and don't want more burden. So it basically tries to get you very quickly into a lean back, relaxed state. So that's like joyous for me. Like any moment I can just lean back and step out of life is quite good, and shut off the noise. And then because of that, we get you into a state of trance or hypnosis, or what I call autopilot, just to make it really, dumb it down a bit, which means that we're accessing your unconscious mind. And that's where you're very malleable to being more creative with your thoughts and unpicking beliefs that you might be holding on to that almost certainly won't be true, so that we can rebuild more positive and healthy habits.
I see.
So lean in, lean out, back, conscious, unconscious. Just keep it as simple as that.
Yeah. So you had all these women kind of saying to you, this really resonates. You're thinking, I want to do something here. So then did you then decide to create a business or an app that would?
Do you know what? I never actually, I'll be really honest, in the early days, I was not thinking, I'm going to create a massive business. It wasn't that. I just thought I need to start really slow, and I wanted to create something that I knew was going to have an impact on people. That was it. And then I came up with the idea for Clementine, because I was like, if I'm going to create something, I want it to be something that I'm aligned with. Mm-hmm. And that if I'm going to spend all my energy and time, I've got 2 kids, had already stressful job, it needed to be something that I felt completely passionate about. And so, yeah, I did. I remember it really clearly. In January 2017, I told everyone in my life that I was going to start something, a business. And they were like, what is it? And I was like, I don't know. And then for 3 months, I went on a real exploratory sort of phase of what could I do? What could I solve? What could it look like? All that, without trying to jump to solutions. But it came clear very quickly. And then at the end of those 3 months, it was me in my head in a PowerPoint presentation saying, I'm going to create an app. Well, actually, it wasn't an app. I'm going to create a support system that helps women tackle their issues with sleep, stress, anxiety, and confidence. Mm-hmm. And then I spent every night, we changed our whole lives really to do this. Because I told my husband I wasn't going to be doing anything at home anymore, because I wanted to spend all my time doing this. And so I'd come home, and rather than pottering around the house and, tidying up dishes and whatnot, I was like, I'm not doing it. You'll have to do it. And I just spent every night just like, building it, and in the weekends, and I just loved it though.
It's so exciting at that beginning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why did you call it Why did you call it Clementine?
Clementine, yeah. I get asked that question loads because people are like, I don't understand. But they love it. They're like, because it feels like it's a woman. So it was really simple. I had a tiny little branding agency help with come up with the design and, you know, the name and stuff. And they asked everybody who was part of the process to bring in an everyday item that they thought depicted what this brand was going to be. So some people brought in their favorite mug. Some people brought in like headphones. And I brought in a bag of clementines. And the reason I did that is because when I was working at Wunderman Thompson, in fact, I was still working there at the time, because I had a lot of nervous energy. I was a very anxious person. And so I used to take clementines, I'd have them in my bag or satsumas or whatever, and I'd take them into meetings and I would peel them and like into tiny little like piles and take all the pith off. And it was my way of managing my nervous energy and anxiety. And then it was almost like a fidget tool that no one else in the meeting would know that that's what I was really doing, if that makes sense. Mm. And I was like, it's just so cool because they fit in your bag and they don't bruise like bananas, and then they taste good and they look good and all that stuff. And when I was describing this, it was like a ritual I would do in every meeting. Everybody was just like, this is it. Like, the other thing we did is we looked at all the competitors who all had quite descriptive names. So calm, headspace, you know, happy, not perfect. And we realized because we were later into the category that we had to do something that was quite different. And also the name Clementine is a woman's name, and we wanted it to feel like it had a personality. So all those things combined, everybody just went, that's what it has to be.
Oh, what a great story. I love that. I can really visualize you doing that. Actually.
Yeah.
So early days. So you've basically told your husband you're not going to do anything around the house. You're working your ass off, building this thing for 3 or 4 months, whatever, putting all your money into it too, I imagine.
Yes, all our money. Yeah.
How did that conversation go with your husband?
Actually, it was he. Do you know what? I have to, I give my husband a hard time, but he is literally my biggest supporter and always has been. For years and years, he'd always said to me, I think you should start a business, but I never had the confidence to do it. And I never had the idea. And so he was always just saying, leave your job, do this, leave your job, do this, because you've got it in you. And I just was like, so for him, it was a no-brainer. I'd been made redundant a few years before that. So I had a payout that I saved. So we had that money put aside. And so I said, okay, well, let's use that money. It was just, do it. What we didn't know was how much it was really going to cost. Like, I was like, it'll probably cost this. And it ended up costing double that.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter because I was just so, it made me so happy.
Yeah, I remember that with my last business with my sister, and also she'd taken redundancy, so she put her redundancy money into it. And we didn't really know how much it would cost. We just kept putting more money into it because we absolutely believed in the idea. I think when you're so convinced, it just becomes a no-brainer to just keep funding it.
Yeah, totally. And it was a lot of money, but I don't regret it at all. And we've had to really change our lifestyle to support putting that money in. But again, I don't regret that because that came with a lot of learnings too, about what's important in life.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so how far did that get you then? How far did you manage to go?
Yeah, so basically, I put the app live on the App Store in 2017. So it wasn't like, launch to the world, Clementine is here, because I didn't have any money to market it. That was the thing I hadn't really thought about. I put all the money in creating it. And then that got us as far as up to 2019, where at that point, the community was about 50,000. And it was about 50,000, and we had really good reviews on the App Store. And I just, when you can see lots of micro data points that are telling you that you're onto something, it was pulling me rather than me pushing, if that makes sense. And at that point though, it started to plateau. And I was like, I don't think there's anything more that I can do here without getting proper help and support. I really just didn't know what to do. And so that, yeah, it was the summer of 2019. I also was about to go on an epic burnout. I was so close to it because I had 2 kids, I had a job, and I was running this side hustle. And at that point, I felt like I was failing at all of those things.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it was too much.
I was just really shocked when you just said to me that you were still working at that point. I just made the assumption that you'd left the company, but of course,
no,
that's not. How the hell were you doing all of that?
I don't know. I literally would come home and I would work late. I worked late and all weekends for those few years. I just did, and I didn't realize at the time, because I loved it, that actually it was still a lot of hard work, right? Physically, and mentally taking a toll on trying to juggle all of those things was really hard. And so I remember the weekend when I just broke down and I was in tears and I was like, something's got to go. And that's when actually it was my husband again, who was like, well, it's obvious what has to go and it has to be your job. Because we've invested all our money in this. You've got to just go in it. You've got to get in it now, Kim. And go hell for leather, really. And so I quit my job. I was the main breadwinner too, so it wasn't an easy decision for me, even though he was like, just do it. So we had to pull back from our whole, a lot of things we were doing in life to support that. And we gave ourselves a runway. We'd saved enough money to give ourselves a runway of 6 months to fundraise. So I knew that there was no way that I could scale the business any further without money. And, I was looking around you look at the category and it's like, they've all had collectively over $100 million worth of investment,
Yeah, you just can't compete, can you?
You can't compete. And so that's when, sorry, I'm just going to put my laptop in. That is when I thought, right, we've got to fundraise. And that was scary though. I was like, oh God.
Yeah, so you've made a couple of big fat decisions there. One is to quit your job, pretty scary. And the other one is to raise investment within a very tight time frame.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't know, then I went into it and everyone was like, it always takes twice as long as you think it's going to take, and did it. And I was like, oh God. And then I had the narrative, which actually I found, well, it's not a narrative. The truth of the matter is the facts show that women do not get, they get the minority of funds that go into the ecosystem. And I had that in my head. And it really was unhelpful.
Yes, it can really be a self-fulfilling prophecy, can't it?
Yeah. Because I went into it very negatively, thinking, oh my God, but what if I don't get it? What if I don't get it? But actually I should have been thinking, what if I do get it? Yeah. And so I really, my mental health during that fundraising process was grim, to be honest. I had a lot of panic attacks during that time. But
were you avidly were you on your app?
Honestly, I was going to investor meetings and I was literally using the app about 10 times.
Yeah. In fact, everybody out there fundraising, get the app.
Use the app. Honestly, before you go to a meeting, use one of the sessions. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. So how did you get your head around it all then, having never raised investment before? What was your approach to learning about fundraising, learning the language, the etiquette, all of that stuff?
I know, because it was a completely new world that I found really daunting. And so I decided very early on that I didn't want to do that on my own. And again, a bit like what my husband always says to me, is like, why chance this? You've come so far, why chance this next and most important step if you want to go forward? And so I met a guy called Melon who approached me actually when I went to speak at a big breakfast briefing about mental health. And he said to me, if you want to fundraise, you might want to think about getting some support. And I already knew that. So we had a couple of chemistry meetings, and we agreed that we would work together. So we said it was all a formal agreement. We had a contract and everything. And so his main job was help Kim get her money. But it was so much more than that. You know, he helped me write the pitch deck. We took 6 weeks to really make sure we had a very coherent story, which I struggled with because I wanted to say it in my way and not thinking about what an investor wanted to hear. So he really helped me weave that properly. And then we were very sort of strategic about it and, you know, mapped out the whole of the UK investor community. We even were thinking about crowdfunding, angels, before we decided the route. And then he set up all the meetings, came to every single meeting with me, and he became like a coach really to me, from a technical point of view, but also just from a confidence point of view. I really just honestly could not have done that without him. I really truly believe that. And yeah, he was the one who introduced me to our main investor and had actually almost like, it was almost a done deal, really. I didn't know that because he didn't tell me that until they were like, yeah, we want to invest. So it was brilliant.
I'm so glad to hear that you got that help, and it is absolutely critical, isn't it? I mean, to try and do it on your own is really, really tough.
Yeah, I couldn't have done it. But I know everybody's different, but I just didn't, like you said at the beginning, for me, it felt like Melon helped me open a door and get a key to a door that I didn't know and understand, and then introduce me to all the people in it, but also like make sure that I understood what they were saying. And, you know, that's gold dust.
Yeah, so important. I'm glad you got that help. Okay, so you got introduced then to your now investor.
Yes.
So tell us about that. I mean, did you have lots of meetings before you met that big
Actually, do you know what? It was very interesting. In some ways, I think, I'm not going to use the word lucky, but the timing could not probably have been better for Clementine, because it was touching on so many big movements. And so we didn't find it difficult to get meetings. We didn't find it difficult to have conversations, really. So that I know that not everybody's in the same boat, so I felt fortunate for that. And so yeah, we did meet them actually quite early on, but we continued with our meetings, because Melon was like, even if someone doesn't invest now, they might be an investor in the future. And I'd never really thought about that, because to be honest, as soon as we met them, I went, let's stop. Because my mental health was just so bad. I was like, I just want to stop. And he was like, absolutely not.
No, until you put the money in the bank as well.
Yeah.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, you've got a Series A and you might do a Series B. So, you've got to keep meeting people. So yeah, we did, in answer to your question, we did meet them quite early on. It did take a long time though for everything to go through, because then there was the pandemic and,
Yeah, exactly. How did that affect your whole process?
It just slowed everything down. Just everything was slow about it. Fortunately, Fortunas, who are our investor, knew that the opportunity for Clementine was now. And so even though the process of having all the investment papers, and everything done and signed took a long time, they invested and gave us a lifeline really to start sooner rather than later. And that was hugely helpful.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. So you did your round, which was £1 million, right?
Yeah, £1 million. Yeah.
And so was it just that one big investor, or did you have any other investors that joined?
They are the biggest investor. But one of the other things that Mel and I did when we were very early on was we created this group of women, actually he's in it as well, called the Clementine Collective. And it came off the back of him making me realise that actually I had quite an extensive network that I'd sort of forgotten about, because I had a corporate marketing career. All the women that I worked with took quite linear paths, and were now all, C-suite at big companies. And so he said, why don't we create a group with some of these women who from different backgrounds as well, who will become not just investors, but a powerful group of influential women to support you. So, I mean, honestly, that was quite an insightful thing to do, because I talk to them all the time. You know, they unlock doors for us, and they, you know, just help us have perspective on things because they're so connected to the working environment, or they connect us with people that we wouldn't have known, you know, all that stuff. We were thinking at that time when we were doing that might have helped us if we were doing crowdfunding, but we never needed to do that. So it's really good. So I have my own group of mentors, really, and advisors.
That's a really nice idea. When you get those kind of advisors who invest as well, they're really committed to supporting.
Yeah, they are very generous with their time, like beyond the money that they put in. They want to make it work just as much as we do.
Fantastic. So obviously, you know, those initial thoughts you had about how, as a woman, you wouldn't be able to get funding weren't true.
No, not true at all. Completely not true.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think we can be doing to get more women, you know, who are running startups funded?
I think a lot of it is to do with the language and the way that we are inviting people to be part of the process. So, I mean, I talk quite openly about this. I don't believe in this idea of pitching. I never actually had to pitch to our investors. They were very much, we don't believe in that. Let's just have a conversation about your business, which changed my whole mindset and the way I spoke to them. Now, I'm part of many women in business communities, and I know so many amazing small businesses who would never enter the arena just purely because of having to pitch, because it's been made into this really big, scary thing. And I think we need to get rid of it. Get rid of pitch competitions. I don't believe in those. I find it very disrespectful to business owners that, you know, come and pitch like you're acting, and what if you're not good at that? You know, you might have the most amazing business in the world, but it will never get there if you lack the confidence to be able to do it in that way. I think it's a major barrier.
Yeah, I mean those competitions anyway.
Competitions.
And those kind of, I mean, I remember it very well when I was raising, you know, that kind of standing on a platform or a stage in front of what certainly always used to be a sea of men in suits.
Yeah.
It was hideous.
It's hideous.
Absolutely hideous. So, you know, I totally agree with you. And it has to be a conversation, because it's about fit, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Are we a good fit for each other? It's not like you go on a date with someone and pitch yourself to them.
Pitch to me. No, why are you amazing?
Get to know each other. It's crazy.
And it seems like a simple thing, right? But it's not, because the whole system is made up of pitching. And
yeah, but I think it's a very male construct. It's a very chest beating, ego driven environment. And those audience you're often pitching to people who are never going to invest, but they like to ask you really horrible questions in front of an audience.
Yes.
Make themselves look big.
Yeah, I know. What the hell? And you're like, no, like even now, because we're heading towards Series A, and people send me your pitch deck, and I'm like, no. If you want to have a conversation with us, sure, happy to jump on a call for half an hour, but not going to do that. I'm not.
I totally agree. Never send your pitch deck out. It's you're the one that has to talk through your business with someone.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. We do an event on Clubhouse once a quarter at the moment, which is about it is called Female Founders Pitch, and I'm thinking maybe we should change the name of it, actually, Kim, but it's just a 3-minute audio presentation. But I don't see that as a pitch for investment. It's not. It's an opportunity to showcase your business to lots of people and get practicing at crafting your business in 3 minutes. I do think that we all need to get better at being able to communicate our business.
Of course.
Or 3.
Yes.
I do think that's really important, but I think I personally quite like the audio environment, because it's a lot less pressured.
It's less daunting.
Yeah, but it's still daunting. But yeah, the word pitch, even pitch.
You could call it Female Founders Showcase, which is what you just said it was.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to rename it. Thanks.
Because I do think the word it's loaded.
Yeah, it is loaded. And the word pitch deck, we should change the name of that as well.
Yeah.
Give that some thought. So what do you think about, so that's in terms of the structure of the industry and how we facilitate, the connections.
Yeah, and nurture.
What about, what advice would you give to other female founders out there who are getting ready to raise investment?
Yeah, so there's a number of things. One which is around, there's making sure you've got your pitch deck right. We'll call it pitch deck.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Melon and I did, actually looking back, which really helped, was to share it with a lot of, we weren't afraid to share before we actually went to the investors that we really wanted to talk to get feedback, even though we knew those people weren't going to invest. We almost like had a tiered system. Does that make sense? So it's like, we just really want to know what you think.
Yeah. So going to them for advice. So going for advice as opposed to investment, just to test the water.
Yeah. What we learned from that very early on is that we'd massively undervalued the business. Like very early on, the first two people were Mel and I were like, oh my gosh, actually, we've really, imagine if we hadn't caught that early, So the other thing is, I think it's good early on, I did this, is to talk to as many founders as you possibly can to hear their stories about how they raised money, because everybody's so different. VC funds might be right for one person, crowdfunding might be right for another, angel, grant funds, friends and family rounds, whatever it is. I would try to talk to as many people to understand what might be right for you, and not just go with what everybody is telling you is right, because it has to be aligned to your life as well.
But it's a very personal decision. There is no one right fundraising strategy, but of course, you're sharing your story here is a big part of that, and all the other amazing founders who've shared their stories on this podcast, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I did. I listened to this podcast because I was just desperate to understand and hear from as diverse range of people as I possibly could, women actually. And I really did think there was not enough resources out there of women, being totally real with their stories. So yeah, I think that's really important, and not be ashamed to ask people, because people are actually quite keen to talk about their businesses, aren't they? And I'm just thinking, what were the other things I would do? I would put aside the fact about women not getting investment. Yeah, we know it, right? But you need to go into it with a positive mindset. It's like I didn't, which is a what if I get it, not a what if I don't get it. Because it just really changes the way that you behave and feel during the process, which is hard.
Yeah. Well, I would say even, what am I going to do when I get it?
Yeah. What will I do when I get this money?
Yeah. So you go into it with expecting this is a fait accompli, and the confidence that you will exude with that attitude is what will attract investors to you.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. I do, like, be mindful about it, like write it down and say what will, like genuinely, because so yeah, I think those and get help, right? And that's the other thing, get help. Don't chance it.
Yeah, that's all great advice. Thank you so much. So you raised the investment, and so what's shifted then since? You stepped down as the CEO, is that right?
Yeah, and I'd try not to use the language of step down, because actually I feel like I've stepped up.
Okay, great. Thank you for reframing that for me.
No. I've had to do the reframe in my head, because it wasn't my decision to get a CEO in, and I was dark about it at first. For the first week, getting my head around, could I even do that? Could I allow that to happen? And then I really quickly realized that, oh my God, of course I could allow that to happen, because it was a gift. And that having someone who knows what they're doing. I've never been a CEO. I built a business, but actually I didn't build a business. It wasn't even a business at that point, really. And I needed someone to help me turn it into a business. And so I am working on the business but before I was only ever down right at the bottom, if that makes sense.
You were in the weeds.
In the weeds. And, you know, we're still like up in the weeds, down in the weeds, but I'm way more like thinking about where we're going, what's next, you know, thinking about very creative ideas that the team aren't focused on right now. So it's been absolutely brilliant. It was the best thing we did.
It sounds liberating.
That is the word, liberating. Yeah.
That's really interesting. And I think that we should all take a leaf out of that book and not feel like we have to hang on to that position as we scale the business, because actually it's about what's best for the business and what's best for you.
Yes, exactly. And I had to go through a process of saying Kim Palmer and Clementine are not the same thing. And my job changed to be the guardian of the business, you know, and exactly to your point, what does the business need? Not what does Kim Palmer need? And almost like take ego out of everything.
Yes. And hopefully that gives you some more balance as well in terms of maybe your husband will get you in the house again, but you know, it's about being able to spend time with the kids and enjoy your life as well, isn't it, really?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've sort of got my head around the fact that I don't strive for balance, to be honest. For me, it's a thing that doesn't exist. I'm happy with work-life integration and just trying to make those two work. And it's a daily, you know, it's something that we focus on daily, really, rather than striving for something.
Yes. So what's next for the business? And do you think you'll be raising more investment in the future? Will you need to get involved with that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm so involved. And I've realised that actually even Kim Palmer and Clementine aren't the same thing, but I'm still a huge part of where this is going to go and why it's going to be successful. And that's what investors are constantly want to hear, my vision for the business and you know, my passion for where it goes. So yeah, definitely really heavily involved in that. We're starting Series A and hope to finish it by the end of the year right now. And so we're focused. So we had a valuation at the beginning of the year. We're doing another one in August to just try and, you know, move it up, move the metrics up a bit, so we get the best for money, you know, value for money. And then, because I suppose from a strategic point of view, we've really been focused on building solid foundations so that we can scale massively and grow. And that's what the next round of funding will be used to do.
Exciting. So much opportunity. Well, I have to say, I'm immediately after this podcast, I'm going to go and download the app because I'm really excited to explore it. And I think we all should be exploring it. Keeping yourself sane and calm is the biggest present you can give to yourself, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And just realise that it doesn't have to be a burden. You can just do little things each day. I reclaim the loo in my house, so I spend a bit of extra time in the loo when I'm there and listen to something, because I don't have loads of time. So that's how I do things like that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Kim. It's been really interesting meeting you, and I wish you all the success for Clementine in the future.
Thank you. I always feel very flattered to share my story. So yeah.
Thank you.
Hopefully it helps someone.
Thanks a lot, Kim. Thanks for following Fundraising Stories with Female Founders. This content is all provided to you for free, so if you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe so you never miss another one. Enter the Arena has helped hundreds of female founders fly through pre-raise and investment and onto the exponential growth of their business. Our first-hand experience, expert guidance, and proven programs help female founders unleash the Wonder Woman inside. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to www.enterthearena.co.uk. I'm Julia Elliott Brown, and I look forward to talking with you soon.